Aloha everyone, and welcome to another Carbon 60 video by me, K. Elmer, and in this video it's part 3 of my Alt C60 series, and this one is on frequency. Yes, can you take C60 by frequency? Well, let's find out. Before I get into it, disclaimers. This material is for research purposes only. C60 products are not approved for consumption by the FDA. You understand that consuming C60 is experimental, and you do so at your own risk. I do not have a stake in a C60 product or company, nor do I get paid in any way for making videos. The products mentioned in this video are not an endorsement. I'm not selling anything. So this is just my research. All right, level set on that. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so now, as you all know, the mainstay, the way that everybody that does or takes C60 is they do so mixed in an oil. It originally started out with just olive oil, and now there must be a dozen or more different oils that people are blending C60 with and selling commercially. And when you do mix C60 with oil, it's the scientific term for that is lipofullerene, and that's kind of the mainstay. That's the way, ever since it kind of took off as a supplement, how everybody takes C60. But since then, and that then was like 2013, 2012, around there, there's been alternative ways for people to take C60. And so one of those ways is topically. And there's different videos on all of these guys. I did 3 videos just on topical. One was a product review, links in the video description below. And so, if you wanted to take C60, you don't necessarily have to just take it, drinking it in oil. You can put it on your skin, and it has a wonderful benefit to your skin because of its antioxidant properties. Another way, which I just recently released, was the C60 through an atomizer, in which you would just kind of like an essential oil, but you put C60 oil in an atomizer. It atomizes it, you breathe it in, and you can get that C60 deep into your lungs. And for people who have congestion issues and lung issues, it's been found to be quite helpful. And so there's another way. You can breathe it in, you can put it on your skin, of course, lipofullerene. But this video, this is by far the most controversial and interesting way to take C60 that's popped up on the radar in terms of commercial products. So this video will be talking about the different products that are out there and the concepts behind frequency. Like, what does it mean to have C60 frequency, and how would you even do that? Well, stick around. That's what I'm going to talk about. So first thing I really want to say is I just want to quote Nikola Tesla, because if you understand energy and frequency, you're going to it's there's a lot more there than any of us were taught in school. So just know that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. All right. Now, I just wanted to share that. Okay, so let's talk about molecular frequency. Now, you hard science guys, and you don't get into the whole woo-woo, crystals and drum circles and all that. I get it. I totally get that. But you do know, right, that it is a hard science, and there's deep science in quantum mechanics in terms of calculating the vibrational spectroscopy of different molecules, and it's called a molecular frequency. So if you were just to Google molecular frequency, or for those of you who are new to it, or go on YouTube, you will find lots and lots and lots of different videos and different papers where scientists in the quantum mechanics field have been attempting to calculate the frequencies of molecules. And what that means is, to Nikola Tesla's quote, energy, vibration, and frequency. Well, here's an animation of the C60 molecule with another molecule trapped inside of it. But the whole idea, and this is just an animation to kind of just show you that, if you understand how atoms are comprised of protons, neutrons, surrounded by electrons, everything's moving, everything's vibrating, everything has a frequency. Everything is moving all of the time, from the smallest particle in existence to the largest particle in existence, out there in the galaxy. Everything moves because its atoms move. And so as those atoms move in conjunction together as a molecule, they form a particular vibration. That vibration then translates into frequency. So in the video description, I found a couple of papers that, for those of you who want to read up more about C60, the vibrational frequency of C60, there's a couple of papers, and this first one is by Jose Mendez and John Page at the Department of Physics and Astronomy at Arizona State University, in which they basically get deeply into the vibrational frequency of C60 from a theoretical standpoint, and then go through all of the different formulas. And honestly, I got lost after page one. I am not a quantum mechanics scientist. Disclaimer, these equations are beyond me. I pretty much got through to calculus 2 in my schooling, and I stopped at differential equations. And this stuff is, it looks familiar, but I don't remember that far back. I'm kind of an old fart. So, but the whole idea is this paper is available. It exists. The idea here, and this is the idea that I wanted to share, is that molecules have frequency because they vibrate, right? And that those frequencies are a combination of harmonics that are all of the different atoms that comprise the molecule itself, all moving in conjunction, so that there's a lot of movement. And where there's a lot of movement, the frequency harmonics go up and down and change. And that's the concept. It's a vibrational frequency, not just like a tone, right? It's not a single tone. And so with that in mind, okay, how could you use that? How could you use that for health? How could you use that for, like, I want to take C60. Well, how would I take C60 as a frequency? Well, then you introduce the concept of entrainment. Now, if you remember from back in science and back, like even if you were in a music class, you know that if you have two tuning forks, and one is just there you're holding the tuning fork in one hand and you haven't hit it on anything, you take another tuning fork and you whack it on the table and you hold them together, right? Just like this. What happens is, if the tuning fork A begins to resonate, the tuning fork B that's not resonating begins to resonate in sympathetic vibrations. And what that means in science terms is everything is an oscillating circuit, right? We're all basically oscillators, right? Meaning that we're all vibrating. And so if something that's super vibrating faster than you gets close to you, it'll bring up your vibration as well. That's just science, and it's called entrainment. And so one of the best videos that I could find to kind of show you an animation, if not an animation, but an example of entrainment, is this right here. I found this video of somebody who set up 5 different pendulums, and all of them at different speeds. And within 60 seconds, and now no one's doing anything, within 60 seconds, the vibrational frequency of all of the pendulums become entrained to one frequency, to one vibration. So as you watch this little tiny video, you'll see that the pendulums all start to basically vibrate at the same frequency and speed right there. You see that? And that happens every single time you go to do these kinds of experiments. If you put 2 tuning forks together, the one that's not vibrating will start vibrating exactly like the one next to it. You set up some pendulums. So here's the thinking and in terms of C60 frequency, as a way to take C60 for health. And that is it has a vibration. Just like everything else you ingest, everything you come into contact with has a vibration. And guess what? You have a vibration. All of your atoms and all of your molecules are all vibrating. And when you come in contact with something else that's vibrating, you become entrained to it. Okay? And this is science. And so the idea here now, but the theoretical part, this is the theoretical part. We know that we know that entrainment exists. I just showed you. But the theoretical part is, let's say you have some diseased cells, right? And because the cells are damaged, their vibrational frequency is, let's say, lower because they're not at peak optimum health. And then something comes along that's vibrating at peak optimum health and is vibrating. What happens is there's a sympathetic vibrational entrainment process that goes along. The faster one will slow down a little bit, and the slower one will speed up a little bit until they become the same, which means what? Healing, right? It would be healing. It would be causing your cells to vibrate at a healthier frequency, and the theory is that stimulates healing. Are you following me? Because it gets complicated. But that's the theory, okay? Now, I can't find any studies, by the way, out there. There are no studies that I could find. And I went searching, and all of us are, we're only as good as we can search. And, but I couldn't find anything where anyone was actually doing this. Because let me tell you, if you could come up with frequencies that could cure diseases and treat illnesses, then there would be a really large industry in our country that has billions of dollars that would be very threatened by the concept of frequency medicine, and you probably wouldn't be on the planet very long. I'll just leave it at that. But here you go. There's examples of two different guys, two different men in history, who both actually did that. I don't know if you've heard of these guys, but there's a Dr. Royal Raymond Rife, and a gentleman by the name of Georges Lakhovsky. Both of these gentlemen were flourishing in what I call the golden age of bioelectrical magnetics, and this was all about frequency medicine and using vibrational frequencies to heal and to treat people. And they both proved that it worked. And that's what's really kind of amazing, is that in the early 20th century, in the 1920s, 30s, these gentlemen, especially, not especially, but both of them, Raymond Rife, and you can go and research this yourself. There's lots of stuff out there on YouTube, you name it. But Royal Raymond Rife, he's credited towards inventing a microscope. There's a lot of people out there that call frequency generators Rife machines, and there's no such thing. Rife only invented a microscope, and he had electronics engineer friend of his develop a frequency generator, and then Rife spent his entire lifetime in trying to identify what frequencies did what to certain kinds of viruses and diseases. Everything from mumps to rubella to polio to you name it, right? And he spent 30 years developing and looking at it through his microscope and playing frequencies into petri dishes of these different types of pathogens. And then as he would go up, he would basically start out at like, okay, give me 1,000 hertz, 1,001, 1,002, and he would watch these organisms in his microscope until he hit the one frequency, like an opera singer in a wine glass, a crystal glass. That whole you've seen it a million times. Commercials have it all the time, right? The lady just singing and she's singing in a crystal lead vase and a glass, and the glass vibrates and it shatters. Well, that's real. That's called entrainment. You reach that certain frequency where the molecules of the crystal can't hold together anymore, and they just let go. Well, that happens to living critters as well. So living pathogens, what Rife discovered was you could play frequencies to these living critters, and you could find the one that vibrates its cell walls until they just basically disrupt. Okay, and there's actually videos of showing you how that looks on the internet right now. And so Rife spent his whole life identifying what frequencies would wipe out what pathogens. And he called those frequencies MOR, M-O-R, which stands for Mortal Oscillatory Rate. And that would be the rate at which I could play a frequency that would destroy, let's say, the virus that causes mumps or chickenpox, right? And he did it. And so long story short, he tried to publish his work and became discredited, died pauper. Okay, now Georges Lakhovsky, he approached the same concept of frequency as a healing modality, except he decided that instead of creating a functional frequency generator, he created what he called a multi-wave oscillator with basically this unit right here is one of his original prototypes. It's called the multi-wave oscillator. This is your, I think it's called the pulse modulator. This is what that is, and it goes through a Tesla coil. And then there's the golden mean antennas that he created, which are now called Lakhovsky antennas. Long story short, sorry. But basically, you'd sit between these two antennas, right, and you would be subjected to an electrical field at which the electrical discharges across the antenna would kick off like a xylophone of frequencies. And so while you're sitting in a really high electrical field, you're subjected to frequency ranges up and down the scale with the same concept of frequency as a healing to entrain your body to the healing frequency for whatever may ail you. And he was successful in reducing tumors and reducing problems. He was very successful in Europe. He sold hundreds of these machines. When he came to the United States to promote it, He went to promote it to a group of doctors, and they had him. They were piloting them in a few hospitals around the country, and this guy got hit by a limousine one day and killed. What a coincidence! So the whole idea here is that these gentlemen, like I mentioned just a little bit ago, there are no studies because who pays for the studies, right? But there's proof in their work. If you look at their work, their patents, the history of these two gentlemen, and they're just two of many that actually show that frequency can be a healing modality, and it's just how do you deliver it. Now, like again, Raymond Rife delivered it through a functional frequency generator, and George Zlotowski delivered it through a multi-wave oscillator. But that's my point. You can use frequency. These guys did it. They proved it. So there might not be any, studies out there in today's academia, but the history shows that frequency as a healing modality is successful. But let's talk about what people are doing today as it specifically relates to C60, because the concept here in this video is about C60. Sorry, I go off on a tangent. I spent 20 years studying bioelectric magnetics. It's my thing. But what I want to point out, though, is if you take the C60 frequency and the tremendous benefits that it provides you, the C60 as a molecule, and if you ingest that as a molecule and what it does for your body, try to imagine if the frequency did the same thing. That's theoretical. It hasn't been shown. It hasn't been proven. There hasn't been a Zlotowski come along or a Rife come along to prove that. But there are people out there who have already developed frequency products for C60 to be experimented on. And then, as you know, right, we are the human trial. There's no human studies on C60. But so here we are. We are on the precipice of a new world to understand not only how C60 can help humans and animals, but also and plants. And how can the frequency of C60, or let's just expand that, the frequency of any molecule or any substance, how can it help us in a healing modality? How can it help us for greater health, okay? But in this context of this video, we're talking about the specific frequency of C60. And so now there are two products on the market today that claim to have the frequency of C60 in a product that then you can purchase and then you can then experiment with, okay? The first one is called Digital C60, and if you go on their website, and I'll show it to you in a sec, basically it's Digital C60 by a company called Subtle Energy, where they basically are claiming that we digitally captured the precise energetic signature of the carbon-60 molecule, amplified it thousands of times, and encoded it into digital media. All right, and so what you get if you purchase this product and give it a try, you get 18 media files for $147 USD. Headphones are recommended, but the thing is that they have these great disclaimers where they're like, hey, this is all new stuff, but if you don't, give it a try, and they actually offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. So, you can give it a try if you really want to. But the cool part about Digital C60, this is their website, links in the video description. But, okay, there's two things. The cool part is there's a sample. Not cool part is, they don't tell you, like, exactly what does digitally captured mean. And, and I'm a tinker. I want to know, what do you mean? Explain exactly what you mean so that I can analyze whether or not it's BS. But I can't. So I'm just saying I don't know if it's BS because here's a website. It tells you how great C60 is. But these are findings based on studies of critters that ingested it with oil. All right. So when you put down, and this is where I have a beef with websites like this, when you put down the benefits of ingestion on a website where you're selling the frequency, there's no correlation, there's no proof, there's no study to back up the results with what you're claiming. So this is not appropriate in the reality of you can't claim the benefits of carbon-60 ingestion and then say, hey, you know what, try our frequency. There's two separate things. It should be like, hey, we've got a frequency thing, completely experimental, give it a try. Maybe you'll get the same. I don't know. But this is what it is. But like I said, they do got some really good, they have a very large disclaimer section here about what their product is right here. And it just basically says, hey, this is completely experimental. It's subtle energy. Some people don't feel it. So, that's cool. So that is cool. Okay. So now, the cool part is, again, is that you can sample it. So down here, there you go. At the bottom of their webpage, they give you a 3-minute demo, and you can listen to it, and it sounds like waves in the ocean, but embedded in the sound file is the frequency of C60. So if you want to actually take a listen of what a C60, well, you won't hear it, but it's the frequency of C60 embedded in a sound file. So they do give you a sample. It's $147, so it's not a cheap endeavor to kind of experiment with this, but hey, I just want to point it out to you that it exists. Nothing wrong with these guys at all. I don't mean to discredit them at all. I just don't think that people should be saying, hey, you know what, if you ingest it, this is all the great stuff that happens, and then put it on a website, you're selling a frequency. I already said that. Okay, so I'm just going to move on. So that's Digital 60, C60 by Subtle Energy. So there is a product out there for C60 frequency. Then the other product out there that if you're interested in doing this is the Spooky 2 brand, and they sell a lot of functional generators under the concept of Rife, Raymond Rife, and so they sell a whole bunch of different types of accessories and the generators and stuff like that. And what they have is it's all tied to a software program that runs on your computer or laptop. And so basically you would buy their equipment, and then and the software is for free. So the cool part about Spooky 2 is the software is free. So you can download the software and go through their database and look up what the frequencies are, and really kind of get a really good feel for the software. And it's not simple or intuitive. It's the only thing I don't like about Spooky 2. It takes a long time to get good at it. But it's all free. The software is free, so you just buy the stuff to plug in. And then once you do, then you could run what they call the molecular weight frequency program presets. And so then you would go through the software, select the preset for C60, and then run that through an accessory, and you've got your choices. Now, Spooky 2 molecular weight frequency for C60 is way more complicated, because this product up here by Subtle Energy, it's just C60. Okay, you buy 18 files, you listen to them. That's about as simple. Puts headphones on, you're good. This one, you got a major learning curve, uphill battle. Okay, so let me kind of walk you through the concepts here. First of all, there's basically, they got two different types of generators. Here's your price points for those of you who always ask about price. And here's all the different accessories. And I'm not even going to go there because I could literally make a 1-hour video just about Spooky 2 stuff, okay? But what I do want to point out, though, is this is what the software looks like. And this is just one of the demos on how to run the molecular weight frequencies. And you can see there's a lot of steps, this is not like, this is really simple icon driven. No, you really need to know what you're doing. You do learn it. It's not like, physics, but it's not simple. But if you do it, then you could then play the C60 frequency, and you could play it through a host of different things, whether it be contact, PEMF paddles, cold laser, you name it. There's all these different ways. You can even do a quantum entanglement remote antenna thing, or a plasma ball. There's so many different ways you could have the frequency come out of the Spooky 2 generator. You could just have your pick of which one you want to use, okay? But the main thing is software free, buy the equipment, go to molecular weight frequency, watch this little video, clips in the videos in the description below, and then you'll be able to play with it, okay? And then this is the price point for entry if you wanted to try a C60 frequency that way, okay? And I just want to caveat again that there's no bridge. There's no bridge between C60 frequency and C60 benefits when it comes to frequency, okay? So you got two separate worlds. There's no bridge that ties the two, 100% experimental, but that's what makes this fun, and that's what makes this a tink. But I got a question, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Do these products provide the actual C60 frequency? Or I'm sure some of you are wondering that, like, hey, wait a minute, like all of these guys are claiming, right? I mean, they're claiming that they've got the frequency. So they're like, okay, hey, we've got the digitally captured precise, and what does that mean? I have no idea what energetic signature means. It's proprietary stuff that this company has, and kudos to them for developing it, but like I said, no clue what that means. I don't know what that means from a science standpoint. What does that mean? And then molecular weight frequency, okay, I sort of know what that means, but it's buried within the software, so I don't know. So that's where my question marks are, because here's the reality behind molecular frequency. What is the frequency of C60? Is it a number? And the answer is no, it's not a number. It's a harmonic. So let's take a look at one of the papers that I think is a pivotal work on the frequencies C60 and C70. It's done by a group of quantum mechanics quantum mechanics scientists, okay, very complicated. Again, I got lost on page 1, but the idea here, and this is what's so important about C60 frequency and in general molecular frequency as a healing modality, okay, it's because this is the reality set. You got a bunch of different scientists over the course of years tinkering around trying to figure out by theoretical calculations what the frequency of different of moleculars are. Now, what if they're wrong? And I'm here, because it's math, right? What if they got their math wrong and they're off, and what you're getting is like, I don't know, not C60. And then you do an experiment and you expose, let's say, yourself or a plant to the frequency, and something weird happens, but you can't for sure know, hey, is that really C60? Because somebody calculated it. So you can see that this paper here, these guys calculate it, but not only do they calculate it, they really get deeply into the whole concept of how the calculations are determined. And I just want to read this one little paragraph here, because what it comes down to is geometry. Amazing stuff. I mean, that's like, again, I kind of got lost on page 1. As far as I got, those of you guys who are pretty much the majority of you guys are smarter than me, I'm link in the video description below. Here you go. I go find this stuff. You guys figure it out. Okay, but here, although the full vibrational modes can be obtained from the above calculation scheme, group theory is introduced to help classify and analyze the results. Considering C60 and C70, which have I, H, and D 5H symmetries respectively, we find the following distributions with normal variations among different irreducible representations. So this is the formula, but what that means is that based on the shape, okay, and so here are the different shapes and the different vibrational modes. Here you go. See, these C60 molecules, this is C70 down here, but they can move in different directions and pulsate and vibrate in different ways, and based on those different vibrations and different ways that they're pulsating, okay, they produce different vibrations and different frequencies. So take that as a variable. Now put another thing in there and go, hey, they went and looked at, these scientists that wrote this paper, they went and looked at the calculated and the experimental Raman vibrational frequencies for C60. And check this out. And they did there was a study in 1991, 95, and 2005, and another one in 2005, where they looked at all the different variables or the variations of the C60 molecule, and they measured the frequency. And look at the frequencies. They go up and down. The lowest is like 491, and it can go all the way up to 1565 hertz. Okay. So what does that mean? That it means that that every time they go to measure it, it's a little different. And that it's a harmonic of a bunch of different molecule sets because of the different shapes. As the shape changes, the frequency changes. So it's not one number, it's multiple numbers, right, that form a harmonic, and every time they measure it, it changes. Isn't that cool? That's nature. Now, here's the cool, this is the thing I want to point out. Here's the calculations for the exact same. And this is measured, this is calculated, and this is the point. Look at this one. If the lowest over here is 491 for this particular formation, over here it goes as low as 443 all the way up to 610. All right? And this is a study in 1988, 88, 2000, 2001, and 1991. So when you, and then of course their own measurement, when they did their own calculations, this is what their numbers were. So they go all the way as high as 1726 and as low as 443. And so what this shows us that the calculations for a molecular frequency are not the same as the measured frequencies of the actual substance, the molecule of C60. And it also shows that it's a harmonic of different frequencies as the molecule vibrates. Very important stuff. Why is this important? Well, this is what I was thinking, folks. I was thinking that when you look at the work, and I'm going to go back a couple of slides here, let's say. When you look at these guys, whoops, I didn't get there. Okay. When you look at these guys, right, these two different products, one of them is digitally captured. Okay, so we don't know how they got their frequencies or what exact frequencies they're using, but what did they capture them with, right? A spectrometer, or they don't get into it. And if they don't get into it, I don't know what it is. And then you've got over here, they're just going by molecular weight. So Spooky 2 and Subtle Energy, there's very questionable whether or not they're actually playing the true C60 frequency. So what I was thinking is, hey, you know what? because of the work that these guys did right here, this Dr. Jin and a Dr. Pan, I believe, because of their work and the various different, and they proved that the different quantum mechanics methods lacked quantitative accuracy, then what is your only choice if you truly wanted to experiment and truly wanted to experience the C60 frequency, right? Which you know now is a harmonic. And it actually has to come, and this is my point. It comes direct from the source, meaning that you don't take a product that's in somebody's software and then play it to yourself. Is that truly C60? And the question probably is, I don't know, maybe. Or do I actually take a sample of C60, the actual direct source of the frequency, and I use that as the substance by which to then magnify the frequency that I will expose myself or my experimental plant, animal, whatever? Well, that's the idea, is you go direct to the source. Do not calculate the frequency, but actually use the frequency direct from C60. So are there products out there that do that? Yeah, yep. Of course it does. You're looking at the slide. So these are the two products that are out there on the market today that actually will enable you to do that, okay? And there might be more. I only got as far as these two, okay? Looking around, it's kind of hard because it's hard, because nobody just says, hey, we do frequencies from the source kind of advertising. But the idea here now is Spooky 2, those guys, they also have a product called the Scalar Field Generator. Okay, and one of the unique things about the Scalar Generator, okay, is that you can put a sample on it that will then take the frequency of the sample that you put on the transmitter and then basically transmit that into the scalar field between the antennas. And all you got to do is sit in the antenna. You sit in between the antennas, and then you become subjected to the frequency. There you go. So this puppy sells for $1,600, and it's based on scalar energy. Now, this one over here is the 9010 product line, and you've probably seen me do a bunch of videos on these. I love this product. I've been dinking around with this for since last year. I'm very intrigued by it. It does some really cool things. But now this guy also can do a direct from the source frequency healing modality by simply, there's basically two simple ways. And one, you could do something with a pendant. Take an original frequency source like C60, and you can use this little pendant and add that frequency to the pendant, so it's like programmable. And unlike the scalar generator, the scalar field, you don't have to sit in the field. It doesn't have to be plugged in and running and you're stuck there in the field if you want to have quote, a treatment or something, or you want to experiment with it. With the 9010 products, you can actually just program a device with it like a pendant. Or with this object here called a cube, you can program any object like your glasses, your keys, a pen, anything you want to carry around. And then that thing itself then becomes embedded with the frequency of the source you put in there, in this case, a C60. And then you would have a little pendant that would be broadcasting the frequency of C60 to you as you wore it around your neck. So it is a direct from the source. It takes the exact frequency from a source, not a calculated frequency, but a direct frequency, and it either puts it into a field using a scalar generator, or you can embed it into an object using a 9010. The scalar uses a scalar technology, and the 9010 uses zero-point or quantum technology to do so. All right, I'll get into a little bit more detail for those of you who like detail. Now, but the big question here is this. Do you use C60 as a powder, or do you use lipofullerene C60 in oil? Which frequencies are you going to subject yourself? Now, we know that C60 in oil, kudos to C60 Labs, by the way. But hey, if you use C60 oil, okay, it's bioavailable. So would you need to use a bioavailable source so that it's when you get the frequency, is the frequency then bioavailable to you? Right? Question. We don't know. It's all experimental. Now, if I just use the powder is not bioavailable to me, but I do know that if the molecule is inside my body, it's going to do what it does, right? But if I put C60 in water and drink it, it does nothing for me. It just goes out my back end, or front, whatever. And but the whole idea though is which C60 do you use to put in the field or to burn into a device? So that's experimental. There is no bridge between the two, right? Results and idea. So nobody knows. So if you're going to experiment, keep that in mind. For me, I just want to give a little testimony. By the way, I have all this equipment stuff. Okay, I'm kind of one of those crazy people. I have all this equipment. So I had the frequency generator set up. And I'm sorry there's no demo vid because I'm in the middle. My daughter's moving out of my house, and it's just crazy right now, and there's no way I can unpack and set up anything. But right now the idea is that I actually had this set up for 3 months, and one of those months I was doing experiments. I actually took a vial of C60 and put it on the transmitter. So for 1 whole month I was sleeping in a scalar field with the C60 frequency in the field. Did not feel a thing. And I want a disclaimer right now that I have the sensitivity of a carrot when it comes to this woo-woo stuff, okay? I don't feel nothing. I mean, the only time I ever feel the 90-10 stuff is when I really amp it up to like a really high power. But like this the power level of a pendant for someone like me, I wouldn't feel it. I just don't feel stuff like that. I'm not a feely person. So I didn't feel a thing, and it was just sitting there. So my next experiment, when I do have time and space, I will set up my frequency generators again, but this time I want to try lipofullerene instead of C60, right? And use that as the direct source in the scalar field. There you go. Now, in terms of the cube, I've actually created a frequency set with the C60 oil in it, and so there you go there, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about the spooky scalar. Now, scalar is out there. It's out there like this whole molecular frequency healing thing. Okay, it's so theoretical, it's so experimental, but that's what makes it cool. But I want to point out that the owner-operator of Spooky 2 is a guy named John White, and he's pretty cool. And he puts out tons and tons of videos and runs a forum, and I mean he is so on it with trying to educate everybody. And he could put this video out, and so if you want to know more about scalar generators and the spooky product itself, video link in the description below. But what I want to point out though is that he gets into, in this video, he not only does he demonstrate it, but he shows you the basis for the idea, how to use the product, and then the whole idea is right here. This is where, by the way, you'd never have these two that close to each other. You want them on either side of the house. The antennas, the lid of the box is the antenna. And then so basically you would just be inside the field, whatever between the antennas, and then whatever you put on the transmitter, you're going to be in that field. It's invisible, obviously, and that's kind of how it works. But then one of the things that's cool about this particular video, when John White gets into it later on in this video, there's a like he's right here. He's actually showing putting water. You can take the transmitter. Let's say, right, you want it to burn a frequency into water. You put the water on the receiver and the substance on the transmitter, and then the water becomes charged with whatever that substance is, whether it's oregano oil, C60, whatever, right? So you can actually use the scalar generator for that, and you can also then, there's a picture in here somewhere. So it's really hard to find. There it is, where you can take essential oils, put them on the transmitter, and then these essential oils, their frequencies, just like I was mentioning with C60, become broadcast inside the field. But what my point is, though, I want to get to, is that in the back of his video, he gets into this study where they start talking about scalar plasma technology in water as an effective stress management protocol for healing the cellular regenerative system. So there are some studies with scalar energy as it pertains to healing modality that you may be interested in checking out. This video is in the video links of my video right below if you want to learn more about scalar. And yes, you can again use this for C60 frequency. Now the other one is the 9010. Now you can use the cube, but the easiest one if you wanted to, and it's the lowest price point. It's like you could get the digital C60 for $147. I think you get this power capsule for like $165. Okay, so if you just wanted to tinker and you just kind of want to get a feel, or if you already have all this equipment, that's how you do it, right? But if you just wanted to give it a try, if you have one of these pendants, okay, then there's a video right here. This is on their website, and all you do is you would basically take the spheres that are inside the tube, right? Create a little packet just like that, and then you would then take another piece of foil that you're going to burn the frequency on, okay? And then you would take, in this example, they're using a moringa leaf, so they put the leaf in between on the foil on the bottom, which is what you're going to use, and the little energy pack of spheres like that, boom. And you leave that there for 30 minutes, and then whatever is in between the spheres, that came out of the capsule, and the foil gets burnt into the foil. This is 90-10 how you do it, okay? So in this case, you would just take a drop of C60 oil, and you would put it on that foil, put the spheres on top of it, and you would burn the C60 oil into that foil. And then once you burn the C60 oil into the foil, you unfold it, take one of the spheres, you just take a little piece of the foil just like that, and then you would take one of the spheres and you would wrap it in the foil that has the C60 frequency in it, or in this example, moringa, and that's it. You put it back in your capsule, and you have just added the C60 frequency to your 90-10 power capsule. And that's how you could also tinker with it if you wanted to try what C60 frequency is. So that's it. Sorry, this kind of got longer than I thought I was going to get, but I wanted to point out the reality of, what is, molecular frequency? How can you use it? Has there been any science that it's beneficial? No. But yes, right? Yes, in the early 20th century, after everyone who's did it disappeared, and not anymore right now, but hey, look in the past, there is. And then how are people doing it today? What are the current products? Should you go direct from the source frequency or a calculated frequency? And then if you wanted to do which ones, what did it cost and how you did it? And I wanted to share all that research with you. I find this stuff fascinating. I hope you do too. And thank you. Thank you. If you stuck around this long, I want to say mahalo. Thanks for staying with me. Thanks for watching my videos. I'm glad, and I hope that this was interesting for you. I hope you learned something new, and everything I chatted about, all my videos earlier for the Alt C60 three-part series are below. And also, lastly, if you got any questions about any of this stuff, I'm more than happy to talk about it at any time, and so are a whole bunch of other folks at the Telegram C60 chat group. There's a link in the video description to join our chat group, and you got any questions, come on over, just ask away. But thank you, mahalo, and I really do appreciate your time today. See ya. Bye.